Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Regarding Islamic dietary laws, the misconception that we're going to discuss today is the issue of the prohibition of seafood. The question is that is there any seafood which is allowed, or is it the fact that all types of seafood are allowed, as is generally understood to be the case? And people generally think that all types of seafood which is hunted upon is absolutely allowed, and they base this conclusion on a Quranic verse which goes, it is mentioned in Surah Maida, which occurs in Surah Maida, and the words are "Uhilla lakum saydul bahr," which means that the animals of the sea animals which are hunted, they have been made allowed for you. And on the basis of this verse, or this section of the verse, they conclude that all types of sea animals which are hunted upon and which are caught, they are allowed, they can be consumed, they can be eaten. Now, first of all, before we go on into the details whether seafood is allowed or not, and what are the limits in this, we need to examine this verse in context. And if we do so, we'll find an entirely different meaning which the verse is actually giving. It is not at all saying that seafood is allowed to you, or sea animals which are hunted upon, they are allowed for you. In fact, if the verse is completed and if the whole verse is read in context, as well as the words upon the words which it's based are reflected upon, it becomes very evident that this primarily relates to the ihram restrictions. It is being said that when a person is wearing the ihram, then one of the restrictions of this ihram is that although in normal circumstances it's all kinds of prey have been prohibited. One cannot hunt when one is wearing ihram. However, if one is wearing ihram, then saydul bahr, or the animals which are hunted on through sea, or sea animals, they are absolutely allowed. And this is of course very understandable when a person is going by ship or by sea to the holy places, and he is wearing ihram. And in these circumstances, if food supplies they start to fizzle out, then the only option for him to remain alive could be at times that he has to hunt sea animals. And so therefore the Almighty actually has given this lenience to Muslims, that if they are wearing ihram, although in ihram they cannot hunt animals, however, if they are wearing ihram and they are going by sea, then for them saydul bahr, or sea animals which are hunted, they are absolutely allowed to them. So if this context of the verse is kept in mind, we can clearly say and we can clearly conclude that it has no bearing on the topic under discussion, or seafood. It's not that it is allowing seafood. What it is saying is that whenever one is wearing ihram, then it is okay for that person to hunt sea animals. And this is of course, as I said, a lenience given in the general rule of not hunting in ihram. Now, if this is the case, then the other question which still remains is that what exactly is then the ruling regarding seafood? Is all types of seafood allowed, or is there some other restrictions? Now, again, here one needs to understand that Islam has not given any exhaustive list of animals which are forbidden to Muslims, and it has just mentioned certain animals which determining whose prohibition or allowance human intellect would have faltered. And we know that the three primary things which have been forbidden vis-a-vis eating, and of course we know that besides these three, the fourth one is eating animals which have been slaughtered in someone else's name than God's name. These three things being blood which is poured forth, meat of the dead animal, and pork. If we analyze this, we'll find out that the primary thing which is the reason for the forbiddance of these three things is beastliness. It's because of the savageness. We know that the pig is a beast. It cuts open its prey. It has incisors, and the reason for this, it is precisely because of this reason that the Quran is prohibited it. If we take into consideration the various explanations of the Prophet Muhammad as well, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he is reported to have said that animals which have sharp incisors and birds which have claws, they are prohibited. And by saying these words, he has actually pointed out to the reason that it's the savageness or the beastliness of the animal because of which it has been prohibited. And since this practice of that animal, this beastliness can be transferred into human beings because if they eat such things, so therefore they are prohibited. So it can safely be said that in regarding all these affairs, regarding animals, if this stipulation by the Prophet and this Quranic verse is kept in consideration, that it is primarily beastliness, primarily beastliness which is prohibited. And if we make an analogy, we can safely say that all seafood or all sea animals which have sharp teeth, who hunt their prey the way savage animals and beasts do on the surface of the land, on similar basis, all such animals, all such sea animals should always also be prohibited. So we can say that although Islam is absolutely silent regarding seafood, but if these stipulations by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and also these prohibitions mentioned by the Quran are kept in consideration, then all types of sea animals, all types of seafood or sea fish, for example, which hunt their animal through their and they eat their animal by cutting them open through their incisors or through their teeth, they should be disallowed. And to give a very glaring example, we can safely say that sharks on this basis are absolutely disallowed, because they too cut open their prey, they follow their prey, and they pounce upon their prey, and they use their teeth to cut open their prey, and in this manner they behave as beasts, they behave as carnivores, and they behave as savages. So therefore, it is because of this that we would say that seafood or sea animals which have this beastliness, this element of beastliness found in them, they should be absolutely abstained from. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.